I mean, this detailing is wonderful, and it's awe-inspiring. You walk in and it takes your breath away. Yeah. But it's a bit like living in an art gallery. I mean, there's a sort of pristineness to this detailing that I think would just maybe find confining.
I suppose people might think this is an intimidating space, but essentially it's the spine of the house. It connects the bedrooms to the living areas, and the living areas are very, very comfortable.
I think it's superb. I mean, just look at this here.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's not cold. It's not an art gallery. It's just a brilliant piece of art in itself.
And yeah. the way the architect uses the roof light here and the shadows it creates, and this piece of plasterwork here, the angles are just, the details frightening.
Are you enjoying that? Well, you say frightening, are you enjoying it? It's exciting,
yeah, stimulating. It's exciting. I intend to put pressure on the architect as well.
Oh dear, that's a side effect of this visit which I hadn't anticipated. What does Mary Arnold Forster think about that?
It is interesting. This is different daylight to what we deal with in Skye, and it's a continuing concern, but he's a master at manipulating that daylight. You can tell that he does art galleries and public buildings as well, because that control of it is rather beautifully done.
My only worry is that this has set a very difficult precedent for you and Dave and Liz. You know, your building has to live up to the quality of this. That's something to live under, isn't it?
Absolutely. For a kind of very ordinary jobbing architect, it is very stressful. But they are fantastically wonderful clients, actually, because for years people have said, just draw up this, here's what I want. But they have stood back and come in on the project and come back and forth, and that's been fantastic to work with clients who stand back and say, let's see what you can come up with in response to our brief and our landscape. And that is really flattering.
I think Mary's underselling herself. She's well capable of delivering the house Dave and Liz dream of on Skye. She shares Alvaro Caesar's love of wood, and she appreciates the importance of siting. For the Singletons, this inspirational trip to Portugal has reminded them that they are right to strive for the highest standards in architecture. In the midst of all your building work and all the details and the chaos of it all, hasn't it been fantastic to come down here and see this incredible house?
Absolutely fabulous. It's totally stunning. It's the interior, exterior, the architecture is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, it reinforces a lot of what we want to do on Skye. Obviously the size is different, but you know, the principles behind it. I just think it's a fantastic house. I think it's an inspirational house. Having talked to Carlos, you know, his project took far longer. You know, to find permissions and so on and so forth. So you do need a lot of patience when you do decide to build a house. But I think when you get towards the end of it, you begin to see that it's all worthwhile.
I think clearly bringing you here has been an inspiration.
Definitely.
I think it's been worthwhile.
Definitely.
Oh, yes.
Give you a little bit of a break.
And hopefully when you see our finished product.
I should be saying the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's been superb coming here.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
So have I. To see a house by Alvaro Caesar at first hand, with the help of the man who commissioned it, has been a great treat. For many, a house like this would be all about the views outside. But I think Caesar is better than that. It's more thoughtful, more considered. And I like the way that he's created a very delicate balance between the inside and the outside. Inside, we've got good spaces to live in, walls for artwork, walls for books, places to put the sofa against. And then he's framed the wonderful views with very carefully considered doors and windows. It's absolutely lovely. Coming up, the completion date goes out the window, but the windows themselves arrive at last. Scottish island of Skye, Dave and Liz Singleton are having a house built for them, their family and their 3 Labradors. Architect Mary Arnold Forster has designed a building for them which will almost merge into the landscape.
What people like about traditional architecture is the way it settles into the landscape, and it settles comfortably as if it's always been there.
The building has been underway for 8 months, but the harsh Scottish winter has set the completion date back by 3 months. But by late spring, the weather is improving and work on site picks up again. The first fix is now underway and the windows have been ordered. Underfloor heating is being laid in a cement screed, and Dave and Liz are back on site to see how it's changed since their last visit.
Now I'm really impressed, and now I can visualise and see the results to date. It's fantastic. I'm very impressed with the proportions as well. I think going from the lounge backwards, coming through to the dining area and the kitchen. At the moment, they look perfect. The proportions look spot on. So I'm pleased.
Yeah. When you see another piece go on, it's fantastic. But I think the real reveal will be when the windows go in.
Yeah.
Because at the moment it's boarded up. Because obviously you can imagine on the edge of this cliff it gets very windy. But when the windows do go in, I think the house will truly be revealed.
Building a house on the mainland of Britain is one thing. Building it on a remote Scottish island is quite another. All the materials have to be trucked up or shipped across, and planning who does what, when, is more critical than elsewhere. There's something else. Now that she can see what's going where, Liz is worried that one of the guest bedrooms at the back of the house will be too dark. They do have minimal views, but I've got to say, I can imagine just lying in bed looking out the window here.
Yes.
And that oak tree up on the hill, on the crest of the hill, is beautiful, and particularly today, when you see the blue sky behind it and the oak tree. I mean, it's just sort of frames it. It's like a living picture out there, isn't it?
I mean, it's all comparative,
Yeah.
minimal comparative to the front of the house. But these rooms are a reasonable size.
Yeah.
We will be having sometimes a few people staying, so you know, I'm sure it'll be adequate.
Dave is more concerned about the larch, which has just arrived on site, and in which the house will be clad. Architects always talk about an honesty of materials and construction. If a building is made out of blockwork, so the thinking goes, well, you shouldn't attempt to disguise it by sticking timber cladding all over the outside. Not that that's the case here, because Mary Arnold Forster has used a timber frame throughout, so their external cladding, made out of timber, is an integral part of the finished design. Not that Dave and Liz have had many types of local timber to choose from.
The choice of wood, we had a choice between 2 types of larch, one Siberian and one native to Scotland. Obviously our preference would have been to go native to Scotland, so we had 2 examples made up of panels, and when we saw the 2 panels it was pretty obvious that the Siberian larch, because of its grain being so tight, gives a very neat edge to this very narrow batten, and you know the grain is very tight, so it's less likely to warp, and there's fewer knots, and it just looked a lot better. So we asked the guy at the woodyard, you know, was it in stock? It was in stock, so it's still only come as far as Inverness as far as we're concerned.
I think it's very important because the house really, the wood is the main feature in the exterior. Bearing in mind that we're going to have the wood on the sides and the roof is also going to be clad in the wood. We wanted as near a perfect finish as we could get, really, and we feel that this wood is a jolly good start. The quality and the grain will look perfect. It is hard work, but I think it will be worthwhile.
Every time they come on site, about once a month, Dave and Liz have to make a mental leap. They're forcing themselves to see not a wooden box, but a house with huge windows, which will take in the fabulous views. Until then, it's a matter of dealing with the details, smart aluminium downpipes and the clever system of cladding designed by Mary Arnold Forster, which is being overseen by the foreman, Bobby Morrison.
Is this the actual framework then for the cladding to go on?
That's just a subframe.
Right.
Just now, your main kit is behind there, your timber frame.
Okay.
Then this is framed out with these brackets. which are bolted onto
Okay.
the initial frame. Then we sheath it with OSB.
Right.
On top of that, we'll be putting a breathing membrane, a black breathing membrane with 2x2s extending vertical, going all the way up to finished roof height. And then we'll be cladding it with this Siberian larch.
So it's a lot of layers, but in the end, what it does, it cleans up, gives a very sharp building, and so all the gutters and the downspouts will all be hidden.
Yeah, everything's be hidden. It'll be taken down just to about 6 inches above finished ground level,
Yeah.
and extended all the way up, and then across
Yeah.
horizontally onto the roof.
The cladding system is just one of the design tricks the architect is using to make the building settle into the landscape. The larch will turn silver within a few years, possibly quicker in the harsh climate of Scotland. It's summer. What passes for summer up here? Actually, for a few weeks, Scotland has much better weather than the rest of Britain. And the windows arrive. Suddenly, this wooden box is transformed into a recognisable home. Mary Arnold Forster has set their window specification very high. She knows from personal experience how frightening it can be to live through a severe Scottish storm. This house will catch the worst of the weather from the western approaches, so she's come on site not only to check that the windows are exactly the ones she's ordered, but also to see that they're installed and sealed correctly.
These windows are amazing. They you can vent like this, and it's solid and it doesn't move in the wind. And then you can do this and open it forward properly. That's serious. And then you can see who's arriving. This window is placed to make sure that you knew exactly who's coming. That's all it is.
After 9 months of being shrouded in shuttering, Dave and Liz's house is finally seeing the light.
They're really office spec windows.
The windows are installed in just 5 days, and Mary is pleased with the result.
Where these seals are particularly good, I'm hoping that absolutely no drafts whatsoever. This can be a very windy site, and then the ease with which they open is just really terrific. There's a clever little lock here. Have I got that one? Oh, that's very satisfying when it locks into place.
Ordering these windows has been something of a gamble for Mary, or perhaps we should call it a calculated risk. She hasn't dealt with this manufacturer before, and there couldn't be a greater test for the product than this site.
The windows have all gone in. Are they going to finish today?
They're just about finished now.
Okay.
All the frames went in the other day apart from this one here, which they left out to get all the glass in.
Right.
And they've just put in all the glass and they're just adjusting all the doors.
And if the clients need a lesson in these doors, you'll be able to give it to them.
I'm sure. If not, they're going to go on the internet.
Well, they look amazing. I've never done these windows before. And they're the next level up, aren't they, from what we usually do? They're pretty sleek.
They're good.
This has been a fascinating project to watch. Being so far from the main centres of civilization has brought its own problems. Shipping in all the materials, dealing with the weather, extreme weather at times, and just understanding what makes life tick in the Scottish Highlands and Islands. For them, this is the focus of their lives. For Mary Arnold Forster, it's one of many projects she has to coordinate over a huge area. That can sometimes cause tension. So, as the house emerges, how is the architect feeling?
Happy, a bit apprehensive about the programme, but I think the clients are patient enough to wait for the quality. I mean, these guys are good builders, so that's why we employ them. You can get other builders who rush things, and that's absolutely pointless because they just have to redo it. So that's okay. It is a bit behind schedule, it must be said. Still, they do have the patience for it, and it's not like they've been living in rented accommodation around the corner. But I do trust Bobby, it must be said, and that's really important.
They're working on the final section of the roof, and at last it's possible to see, even on a rainy day, the kind of views Dave and Liz will be enjoying in their new home. Mary Arnold Forster knows just how privileged she is to be working in this part of Scotland, and has developed a special technique for respecting the landscape.
It's all about the view here. The architecture is kind of secondary. The thing that makes it is the place, and I'm just lucky to get these places to work in. The less you do, the better in a way, because then the site speaks for itself.
By the autumn, Dave and Liz are expecting to move in. They've got new furniture stored all over Skye. But after the windows are installed, and just as the end appears to be in sight, this project starts to slow down. No one can really explain why. Dave and Liz, trying to keep in touch by phone and email, are starting to get frustrated. It takes another 7 months to complete the interior. It's the middle of February, almost 18 months after this project started, before they can take delivery of the furniture and start to move in. Like the weather, relationships are a bit frosty. The question is, will Dave and Liz forgive the long delay when they finally see their dream home completed?